Hey, Steve here. Thank you so much for joining me. It is another Monday Guitar Motivation. And yes, this is live. And yes, I'm here. So I want to say hello to a couple people. Carl is here. How you doing, Carl? Chris Wilson from Sacramento is here. My knees hurt from Pacific Northwest was the first one to post from YouTube over there. So thank you so much. Van Tally is here. Carl Breeze Jr. is here. Michael Bay is here from France. I'm looking over here because that's where my chat is. Dean is here, Dean Linder, David Prenderville from Ireland. Wow, very cool. Mark from UK, Tim Norris, Damon. So thank you again. Hazim is here. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Thank you so much for everybody for hanging out. So what I thought would be good today for a Monday Guitar Motivation is to talk to you about scales and the way we approach playing them. Now, many of you might already know this, but there might be some people that don't, and that's why I want to talk about this. Hello, Shane Williams is here. Christoph from Poland is here. Patrick is here. Mountain Mike is here. Hazim is from Malaysia. Very cool. I'm glad you're here. Josh Watts is here from Wisconsin. Josh, are you guys getting a lot of snow? Because we're supposed to get, like, over the next 2 days, we're supposed to get, like, 2 feet of snow. More snow than we already have. Les Barnes is here. Steven Zinn is here. Thank you as usual, Steven. You're always here. This is awesome. Ken Slocum is here. Again, thank you, everybody. There's so many people here. I don't want to take everybody's time. And so let's go ahead and just get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to approach learning your scale positions. And I'm going to give you a different idea. Again, maybe some of you know, maybe you don't. But let's go ahead and just look at this in the key of A. Let's say I was going to play A major. All right. So when I learned how to play, and I refer to these as closed position. Now, you might call them something else, but that's what I've always referred to this as a closed position. So if I play A major like this, that's a closed position in my mind. That's what I'm thinking of. So I've got 4 fingers covering 4 frets. So, you know, you practice all the way up. That kind of thing. And again, please understand that if whatever it is that you're doing is working for you, then that's great. You don't need to change anything, and I'm glad that you're here. But if you're struggling with something, maybe something like this will help you a little bit, okay? So Josh just said at the end of a 5-inch downfall, which was pretty irritating, heavy on my shoulders. Yeah, I am sick of snow blowing. I'm sick of shoveling. We need spring. I don't know if anybody's planning on being at NAMM this year, but just letting you know that I will be at NAMM this year. So if you've got any time to hang out, look me up and say hello for sure if you're there. All right? So anyway, let's go ahead and keep going. So this is my closed position. Now, that's how I learned how to play it. So when I would try and solo, you're sitting in that position. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's all kinds of really wonderful things that you can do in there. But I remember the first time I was introduced to what we'll call an open position or spread fingering, and it changed everything about the way that I thought about playing. Growing up in North Dakota, there was, you know, minimal amounts of information of modern styles back in the early 80s, and, you know, guitar magazines were just getting going and things like that. And I remember seeing Yngwie Malmsteen. He came to Fargo with Quiet Riot and opened for Quiet Riot. And I remember seeing him and just being blown away. You know, I'd listened to him, but he, you know, he'd come running out on stage and did his best Richie Blackmore slide and down on one knee, you know, and he's playing, and he's doing all of this kind of stuff, and just the amount of speed he had, and I didn't have that. I didn't even understand the concept. And so when I started learning these spread fingerings, it all made more sense, especially when a gentleman by the name of Paul Gilbert came out with a video called Intense Rock, which many of us my age grew up learning how to play. This all made way more sense. So let me show you this. And again, you might already know this, so I apologize if you do, but let's take a look at this. So if I was playing an A major, instead of playing this closed position like this, sorry, I got to play A major there. I'm going to play it in what's called a spread fingering. So instead of playing that position, I'm going to play 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. So the first thing that happens here, we can see the distance for my fingers is larger, and I'm doing 3 notes on each string. So I'm playing 5, 7, 9. So now I'm playing A, B, C sharp all on one string. And then D, E, F sharp on one string. And then I move up and I've got G sharp and then A. Now I'm starting all over again. So number one, you can see that it becomes more symmetrical. Now let me play the whole shape for you. And again, you can always come back and watch this later if you're at work or doing something else, okay? So if I play this, you'll notice the first thing you see is this symmetry. I'm playing 5, 7, 9 twice. Where when I was down here, there really is no symmetry. And some strings have 2 notes, some strings have 3 notes, depending on how it is you're playing it. And again, please understand, there's lots of different ways you can approach all of these positions. But I just want to give you something that might help you a little bit. So as I'm playing this, I have 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. And then I'm going to move to 6, 7, 9, 6, 7, 9. Okay, so now I have, again, not the same as the first 2 strings, but now I have a symmetrical pattern on these middle 2 strings. And then I move to this string and I have 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. So yet another pair of 2 strings that are symmetrical. So from the visual standpoint, it becomes a little bit easier to visualize and memorize to see that visual pattern and that symmetry. So that's number one. Now, obviously, all the positions as you start learning aren't going to have this perfect symmetry that this position does, but they will have something similar. And the beauty of this is that you're always playing with 3 notes on each string. So you can build a rapport, a picking rapport, that is a little bit easier to replicate and create efficiency and smoothness and certainly speed, all of those kinds of things. So yeah, I'm just playing an A major. So if you look at this, I'm playing, Hazim is asking. So I'm playing A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. And then when I get here, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp. So they're all the same notes. Okay, if I play this, you can see aurally they're the same thing. So number one is the visualization, the symmetrical aspect of this. Number two is the fact of this streamlined idea of being able to play 3 notes on each string all the time, no matter where you go. And this goes back to my story. This is what players like Paul Gilbert or players like Yngwie Malmsteen or different things will do to create this speed, because you can take this symmetrical pattern and you can develop speed with it. See what I'm saying? So it's really, that opened up so much in the way I thought about my playing, because trying to play anything fast going, there was no symmetrical aspect to it. Again, some strings had 2 notes, some strings have 3 notes. And please don't get me wrong, just because you're playing a 3-note per string pattern and you can play it faster doesn't mean you want to play faster. Like sometimes it isn't about speed, right? So if you go back into this standard position here, this closed position, it's not that I don't use it, of course I'll use it. But once I learned to visualize these patterns a little bit different, all of these other opportunities came up. And the last thing, again, I don't want to take way too much of your time, but the last thing I want you to think about this week is that when I visualize, and this might just be me, but when I've learned to visualize this in the spread fingering shape, it was easier for me to visualize my chords and most certainly teach this stuff to students. So let me explain this to you. So we have 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the 8th note being the octave. That's our scale, our diatonic scale, A major, right? So when I would have people, like students that were learning this stuff, and I would teach them bar chords, when I talked to them in terms of theory, when I talked to them in terms of like 1, 4, 5, or a 6 chord, or a minor 2, or something like that, they could know that information because they understand it. But with the spread fingering idea, they could visualize it. So let me show you this. Let me switch over to a little bit cleaner tone here. There we go. And so now I'm going to do this. Okay? Now, if I look at those notes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 here on the 4th string. But I'm going to take that 7 and I'm going to move it just for our purposes, I'm going to move it onto the 5th string. So now think about this. So if I knew this, and I don't want to get too far into theory because that's another conversation, but in a major key, my 1 chord, my 4 chord, and my 5 chord are always major. My 2, my 3, and my 6 are always minor, and then my 7 is diminished. Okay? So if I know this, or at least, have it written down or something like that, or can reference that, as I'm looking at this scale right here, my 1 chord, which is A, would be A major. Then I see my 2 chord right here on the 7th fret, so my 2 chord would be minor. Then I see my 3 chord, my pinky here on the 9th fret, that would be minor. So I have major, minor, minor. So in the key of A major, I would have an A major chord, a B minor chord, and a C sharp minor chord. And that is true. But the beauty of that is I can visualize them sitting there on my guitar right there. And then my 4 chord, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It'd be at the 5th fret of the 5th string, okay? That's major. My 4 chord is major. So is my 5 chord right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see? And then my 6 chord, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there, is minor. Because remember, 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, 6 is minor. And again, that's another conversation we can have. But 1, 4, 5 is major, 2, 3, and 6 are minor. So then when I had a student, I would say 1, 6, 4, 5 in the key of A. So we stay in the same key. 1, 6, 4, 5. So they'd think, okay, so 1, 6, 4, 5. And they could visualize it right away off of that spread fingering. If we were in the key of F, even if they didn't know the key of F, the notes of the key of F, the chords of the key of F, if I said 1, 6, 4, 5, they could visualize that scale, that spread fingering, and then think 1, 6, 4, 5, and they could see it right away. So that, to me, is another really powerful aspect of being able to see this spread out like that, is instead of just knowing the information, I can actually visualize it on my fretboard, which is really nice if you're in a situation where, you've learned how to play something and now all of a sudden you, let's see here. Okay, hold on a second. I'll get back to that, but I saw a comment there, but he's talking to somebody else. Anyway, so as I'm playing this, I can visualize those. If I have to transpose on the spot, it's easy for me just to move it somewhere else and then start working that, okay? So not from a technical standpoint or anything like that, but certainly from an understanding and a visual standpoint, this can make a really big difference for you. So if you've never thought about playing in a spread fingering idea, it's definitely worth checking out. And again, I'm just showing you the first position here, but that's enough for us to start with. So again, A major would look like this in a closed position or standard position. A major in the spread fingering would look like this. Now, if you've never done this before, again, you might say, well, that's really hard for me to reach that. Some of you have met me before, some of you haven't. But if you've met me before, you know I am not tall in stature, right? I am a small person, and my hands are very small. If I can reach these, so can you, okay? It just takes some time to get used to how you're going to reposition maybe your hand or your elbow or your guitar, trying to get comfortable with this. But if it's something that I can learn to do, it's certainly something that you could learn how to do as well. So anyway, take care, everybody. Stay positive. Keep practicing. Go to GuitarZoom.com. Check out our all-access membership that we now offer over there. I sure would appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe on social media. I will always appreciate when you do those sorts of things. So anyway, hopefully this helps you a little bit. I'm going to try and be with you next Monday, although I will be leaving very shortly for NAMM, as I said. So if anybody's going to be out at NAMM in Anaheim, California, let me know, and it'd be great to be able to say hello to you, all right?